righty, so we'll just jump right in. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on the first MQ&A of 2025. We do have some exciting topics in store for us, and you'll be getting the inside scoop on all things IRS and tax season for 2025. So I would like to introduce Shawn Washington, our CEO, or excuse me, our co-founder and CFO of Mileage Quest, and he's going to be leading today's session. He is a CPA and has a history working with the IRS, so he's able to give you, firsthand knowledge on what to look out for this upcoming tax season. So without further ado, we will get started. And actually, before we do that, I would like everyone to take a moment and follow us on LinkedIn. We really appreciate the support on that platform. We post a lot of engaging and informative content about all things tax and mileage. So definitely be on the lookout for our posts and give us a follow. All righty, Shawn, take it away.
Okay. All right. Looks like a few more people are coming in.
And it looks like it.
All right. Okay. Well, others are going to be coming in. So I'll go ahead and get started. Bridget just did a wonderful introduction. And, Bridget is our marketing manager, and she's pretty amazing. And one thing that, I do this probably 3-4 times a year. And, she likes me to read scripts. And I go, look, Tamara and I wrote the app. I'm just going to talk. But anyway, she has these beautiful slides, and she's going to send you the presentation when we're done. So I just want to tell you what Mileage Quest is. Mileage Quest is a mobile app that tracks mileage. Okay, it syncs to your calendar, whatever calendar system you're using. It stores that trip so you capture all your movement throughout the year. And then you can export a report to your accountant or to your employer for reimbursement of your mileage. So this app really came to be developed as a result of my wife and I being partners in a CPA firm, and we had several clients that refused to document their mileage. And so we wanted to create a platform that made that possible, made it seamless, made it simple, where you could just sit at home while you're watching the NFL or basketball or your favorite reality show and just click and code up your trips as business, commute, personal, etc. So that's what Mileage Quest is. Okay, next slide. And so essentially, this app was created from the perspective of tax preparers and CPAs. And so we know what the audit requirements are for the IRS. So if we can meet the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board documentation requirements, we can meet any requirement. And so it's well documented in IRS publications what they require. And as you can see from this slide that's up, you need to have your, obviously the date, who you met with, your starting and ending odometer reading, or your from to location that's pinged by some type of mileage GPS system that's on your phone. And then, of course, information about the purpose of that meeting. So when this app was designed, how to capture all that information was quite simple. It's your calendar. So we've sat on many IRS audits of employer-related deductions for some clients over the years. And the first thing the IRS asks for is, okay, let me see your calendar and let me pick some dates and let me see your monthly report of how you came up with your total. And people always had difficulty doing that. And so Mileage Quest solves that problem because we sync to your calendar. And as long as you use our best practices, recommendations, and flow charts, that information will seamlessly flow right into the app and have you prepared and audit ready. All right, next slide there, Bridget. So for this year, a couple things we want to talk about for our first MQ&A was some changes with the IRS. Well, now instead of 67 cents a mile, there was a 3 cents increase to 70 cents per mile. And so, I mean, this is really phenomenal that you reimburse 70 cents per mile. When I started in the tax business, I won't tell you how many years ago, but it was a long time ago, that rate was like 24 cents. So you figure it out at 3 cents, increase per year. But nevertheless, 70 cents a mile that's a great deduction. And it's also, good reimbursement for, employees. Employers may not like it as much, but definitely the independent contractor, that rate is pretty significant. It's almost $1 a mile at this point. And then the medical miles and the moving and charitable, those haven't changed. Those are the same. as they were last year. So do keep that in mind. It's 70 cents per mile. All right, next slide. I wanted to share some things with you about the standard mileage rate and kind of the requirements that are necessary for you to use a mileage reimbursement rate. And we always the Mileage Quest essentially is not just an app, but it's also an educational tool. And the reason we do these biweekly MQ&As is to give our subscribers the opportunity to have FaceTime with the those that have written the app and the leadership and co-founders and other app companies don't make themselves available that way. We believe in our app, the strength of it, the power of it, and we're willing to put ourselves out to the public every 2 weeks for Q&A. And so with that being said, when we do these Q&As, we typically have a guest speaker from another industry that uses our app and that can give a testimonial about how it's helped them and address pain points in their own company. But you're going to get a copy of this deck, and you can look at it later. And please share it with your outside tax counsel, and I'm sure they'll concur with what we've provided here for you. So basically, let me just go over a couple bullet points. We'll probably be about another 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So essentially, to use the standard mileage rates, you must own or lease the car, and you must not operate more than 5 cars. So in a particular activity. And then you must not have claimed a depreciation deduction for the car using any method other than straight line. Now, all these laws and rules, your tax preparer or accountant should know. If you share this document with them and their eyes bug out really, really big, you might want to get a second opinion. Also, you you must not have claimed Section 179. That's like a write-off that a lot of people like to take concerning SUVs and computer equipment and that type of thing. And we'll talk briefly about SUVs because that was the other bullet point we wanted to address with you at the first of the year. And then you must not have claimed special or what they call bonus depreciation allowance on the car. Okay, so essentially what this means is those last 2 bullet points is that you've taken the majority of the expense related to that vehicle in the early years, year 1 and 2, and therefore you can't double dip. You can't claim 100% write-off for the vehicle and then the subsequent years claim mileage reimbursement. So when you walk away from this MQ&A, please understand that and talk to your accountant or tax preparer when you meet with them and say, what have we done with the car? Have we claimed depreciation? Are we in compliance with this law? Take a look at this slide, okay? And then also I wanted to share with you that, and this is in IRS publication 463, it says choosing the standard mileage rate. It says, if you want to use the standard mileage rate for a car you own, you must choose it in the first year the car is available for use in your business. So see how this is educational? So you may want to have this conversation with whoever prepares your return to make sure you've done this correctly. Then in later years, you can use either the standard mileage rate or actual expenses. Okay. And then if you want to use the standard mileage rate for a car you lease, you must use it for the entire lease period. A lot of people don't know that. So you can't, with a lease vehicle, use, mileage 1 year and expense the other. If you elect to use mileage, you have to stay with that for the entire lease term. And so this should be good information for you and your tax preparer to discuss. Now, what Mileage Quest gives you the information that you need so you can make an informed decision about whether to buy or lease. We did a MQ&A about that probably a month and a half ago. And so the reporting feature about your vehicle usage will let you know if it's best to use actual mileage or expenses with respect to either a purchased or a leased vehicle. So this app is more than just a mileage tracking device. It actually is comprehensive and helps you with understanding tax law and making sure you're getting the maximum deduction for your car. All right, next slide. Okay, so here's the big thing. And as a CPA, our office, we get this call every December 27th or 28th. Why do clients wait until the 27th or 28th to ask if they can write off an SUV if they buy it after Christmas or before the end of the year? And so essentially, here's the rules. And a major rule changed in tax law within the last week and a half. So first of all, there's something called Section 179, and for whatever reason, clients always remember the term 179 because that means 100% write-off. And so a lot of people think you can write off an SUV 100%. And in tax law, the answer is always maybe because it's based on a fact pattern, your use of the vehicle. Mileage Quest gives you that information so you can make an informed decision about whether you'll be able to write the vehicle off 100% or not. So Section 179 is a part of the IRS code. And basically, what it says is the cost of each sport utility vehicle placed in service by a taxpayer is subject to a $25,000 limit on a per vehicle basis. So if you buy 3 vehicles, it's 25,000 each. So that's the first tier of write-off for an SUV. So to answer your question, once Section 179, about 4 or 5 years ago, you were able to write it off entirely, but now it's been limited to 25,000 for the SUV. But there's another special rule that was a part of Donald Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act, where he wanted to, spur the economy. And so he says, listen, business owners, if you go out and buy computers, cars, etc., not necessarily cars, but trucks, heavy equipment, you can write all of it off 100% in the year of purchase. And so there was a phase down where it was 100% in 2017, and then 18 it went to 90, then 80, 70. This year is supposed to be 60%. Well, just recently, there's the provision of the bonus depreciation has been extended through 2026. And instead of having a phase out of 60%, which was scheduled for 2024, it is now 100%. So, some clients that are not staying on top of their capital acquisitions, um, you know, you have to stay aware of what the current tax laws are. But again, this just recently changed. And from what I understand, there's no cutoff period or grandfather period, but you can apply the 100% rule for 24. So that's your answer to the SUVs. Now, here's the issue. The issue is assuming you bought the asset as 100% business use, let's say the SUV, then yeah, you'll be able to write the whole thing off. However, if your mileage, your business use is only 70% or 80%, then it's going to be 80% of the Section 179 and 80% of the bonus depreciation. So consult your tax advisor, work through this process. It's not as simple. Sometimes tax preparers may recommend that you don't take 179 because that's limited to your net income in some cases. And they may recommend you take all bonus depreciation. So is it 100% write-off? Well, maybe, and it depends. All right. And we'll open it up for questions. We don't want to give tax advice. We just want to share what's going on with the IRS with respect to the SUV issue. So Mileage Quest features, there's many that have been developed over the last 2.5 years. The core app didn't have a lot of these new and unique things. We won't go through all of them. Typically, every other week, we talk about a different feature. And we do have a backlog of additional features that our subscribers would like to see. And we consider those and we run those by development. And we really expect to continue to see the app develop into a viable product that everybody can use. But what I want to address today is the odometer reading. Okay. And so everybody that uses the app right now should have received a pop-up notification um, around the 28th of December to indicate what your odometer reading is on December 30th, 31st rather. And that's very important because you have to know what your start and end point is for your total mileage for the year. So every December 31st, the app records after you type it in your odometer reading, and that way you have a total scope of what your mileage was. So, for example, at the end of 23, if you had 10,000 miles on the 31st of 23, and then you had, another, let's say you had 30,000 miles at the end of 24, the difference would be your total mileage for the entire calendar year. And then that way, the app can determine your percentage business use based on how you code your trips as business, medical, or charitable. This next slide We talked about odometer implications, again, I think back in December. And what's super important is the proof for audit readiness, which I mentioned earlier. So when the IRS or the state of California or a funding source or a client or anybody wants you to prove what your mileage was, Mileage Quest can generate reports that show the starting odometer reading and the ending odometer reading at the end of the calendar year, and then you'll be able to prove how many miles you drove for the entire year. That is one of the biggest problems with audits with the IRS, is people being able to determine or prove what their odometer reading was for the entire 12-month period. One thing we used to do or had to do was ask the client to grab an invoice from a oil repair or a tire change, hopefully towards the end of each year or the beginning of the next year. And the IRS did find that acceptable, but that's not what you're required to do. That doesn't meet the documentation requirement. You're supposed to document what it is. So Mileage Quest helps you do that. So this report you're looking at right now is a really cool report that most tax preparers um, are used to seeing. And this is a form that comes in your tax packet. And there's some very basic questions at the very top that they need to have answered about, the availability of the vehicle that you're using. Do you have other vehicles you use outside of this one? Because if it's 100% business use, then the whole mileage bet is off. The mileage documentation is for a blended use of personal and business. And you're claiming the business portion, which is the whole purpose of the app. And so you'll notice that this report shows the various trip categories, and it will give a percentage and a number, and your tax preparer can prepare your tax return without going back and forth with you, having you pull invoices, having you pull receipts, and having this arm wrestle about what your total mileage was for the year. Okay, next slide, Bridget. And we talked about depreciation. Just want to share with you the middle slide, um, where it says if you use your vehicle for business and claim depreciation, accurate usage records are essential. Um, Reports detail the percentage of business use, ensuring you calculate depreciation correctly. So the mystery of you trying to figure out what your tax preparer is asking you for is solved with Mileage Quest, because you code up your trips. You're looking at your calendar. You know if it was a business trip or if it was a medical or a charitable trip or personal, and it's documented throughout the year. And so it's seamless, and it's not a headache around next month when you have your tax return prepared. All right, Bridget, next slide.
Awesome. I actually think that that concludes the presentation portion. So I just
Okay.
wanted to close out with letting everyone know that we are on Android. So please feel free to download the app now and start using Mileage Quest so you can experience all those benefits and insights that Shawn just discussed. And then, of course, if you are currently on the app, make sure that you have your notifications turned on or your automatic updates so that you are on the latest version of MQ and get to experience all of our new features and add-ons. And then if you are having any issues or need some tech support, then please go to the feedback tab in the app settings, or you can message us in the contact tab on our website, and we'll make sure that you have the assistance that you need.